hit record. And the last thing I'll really mention is this meeting is a part of the Southern Vermont Working Communities Initiative. And as briefly as possible, this initiative is a group of community members and organizations from Windham and Bennington County who have come together to help devise a better network of infrastructure, organizations, providers to support new Vermonters of all kinds. And you'll see, I hope, it's a 3-year initiative that is really focused on scaling up systems approach. Very briefly, we know that there's both a shortage of resources and a shortage of folks to support them in our region. Our schools are a great example of, the fewer students we have, the harder it is actually to support those students, with the resources we have available. And so in growing our population, this initiative recognizes that in order to be, a welcoming community, the work needs to be done to really make sure folks can come in and not only arrive in Windham and Bennington counties safely and securely, but they have the opportunities here to thrive here, to stay here long term, that they have access to all of the resources that others do, and the additional resources they may need to make Windham County home. So this is, in part of that initiative, and of course, the goal is, again, systems-wide change that we can make as a collaborative community to better support these folks. Enough of that and enough of me, I hope, for the short time being. There are a number of folks doing this work, and most specifically, there are 2 organizations in our community already that actively support folks who are coming into our communities. One of which is ECDC, and the other, the Ethiopian Community Development Council, and the other is the Community Asylum Seekers Project. Despite the way the agenda was laid out, I would also like to introduce Tracy Dolan, who is our State Refugee Office Coordinator. So Tracy, I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind just taking a few minutes of explaining how refugee resettlement works in Vermont. And then we'll have Kate talk about asylum seekers and so everyone understands what we're talking about.
Sure, happy to do so. Really, really happy to be part of this inaugural meeting. I think it's a great idea. My name is Tracy, and I'm the director of the Vermont State Refugee Office. It's a state office that sits within the Agency of Human Services, and it's comprised of me, the director, and a refugee health coordinator. Our jobs are primarily systems level. And so to just talk briefly about how refugee resettlement works. Every year, the president says we want to bring in X number of refugees into the country. This year, he said 125,000 for this coming year, this coming federal fiscal year. The State Department then works with resettlement agencies at the national level to determine how many they each think they can take. And then they work that out at a state level. So a governor in a state doesn't say this is the number we want. We're involved in it and we collaborate and agree on the number. But the first shot at the number really comes from resettlement agencies who are directed by their nationals to say, can you let us know how many people you can take in Vermont? So this year, for example, ECDC, one of the resettlement agencies, and USCRI, the other, we have 2 resettlement agencies here in Vermont, went forward and said, this is how many we want. They came to me and said, does that make sense from a state perspective? They meet with community members and partners, and then basically they send that up to the state who blesses that number. So that's generally how it works from the figuring out how many. And then when people arrive, they receive a variety of resources to help them. The resettlement agency does some really intense things in that first 90 days. They pick them up from the airport, get them a warm meal, help them find a place to live, help connect them with a job, figure out what needs they have by a family capacity assessment, connect them with English language learning, those kinds of things. And then longer term, there is funding available both from my office, because I give some of the longer term funding, but also from partners and others. The goal is really that the kind of funding that comes from the feds through my office or directly is really supplemented then by other kinds of funding and partnerships that evolve over time. And that's meant to support a longer term plan. So the Office of Refugee Resettlement is situated actually within CDC, Health and Human Services, my apologies, Health and Human Services. And that office basically says there are X number of populations that are eligible for our services, refugees being a big one, but also some other populations. And so we will provide funding so that you can eventually help those families get to self-sufficiency. So there's a variety of benefits through this act that are available to them, like Medicaid, like the reach up types of services, the food benefits, those kinds of services. And those services will last for as long as they would for any other lower income Vermonter. There's one additional service or benefit that comes uniquely for refugees, and that's refugee cash assistance. So if someone arrives here, but they don't have a family, they're a single adult or even a couple, but they don't have kids that would make them eligible for reach up, they can get something called refugee cash assistance. And they can get that for 12 months, depending on when they get a job. Once they get a job and start making enough money, that benefit goes away. So my office really looks at all of those pieces, makes sure we're coordinating. And it's been very exciting in Southern Vermont because it's new. So a lot of things have been stood up in a way that's different than Chittenden County, where they've been doing it for 30 to 40 years. So a lot of new challenges, but also a lot of new opportunities to look fresh and look at new partnerships and different roles. But that's generally how refugee resettlement works. This year was very unique. The Afghans aren't refugees, they're mostly humanitarian parolees. So that's a little bit different. And it took a little while to figure out how that difference manifests itself, because initially they wouldn't have been available to be given all those services, but Congress passed an act. This year, we also saw the Ukrainians enter the scene. The Ukrainian is not a regular refugee program either. It's actually a sponsorship program run by the feds. With very little information. So you kind of find out, oh, there's Ukrainians here, and oh, I wonder how many, because we're not getting a lot of information. But they are also eligible for actually a lot of the benefits that refugees would be. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So this year has been unique. We're hoping as we come into this next federal fiscal year 23, which starts October 1, we should hopefully see more refugees coming in, because it is problematic when people come in with a different status. They're not able to get an easier path to citizenship. So we'll see refugees coming in, certainly ECDC, and they'll mention to you, have applied to continue that work. So hopefully we'll see that this year. I don't think the president is going to reach his 125,000 based on what we're seeing overseas. Some of the challenges, some of the systems are still not quite running smoothly, but we'll likely see much more than we've seen in the past. A good year in Vermont was 350 to 400 refugees a year. That was before the Trump administration. We went all the way down to 47 refugees in a year, even 23 refugees in a year. We're hoping we can bring it back up 350 to 400, maybe even up to 500 or 600 this year and next year. Okay. Does that work, Alex?
Yeah, that was excellent. Thank you so much, Tracy. I think, and what Tracy did a good job explaining is that some of the resources and support available to folks is, for the first 90 days, some of that is available longer than that. And I think one thing we can all think of is, how do we make all of these transitions as seamless as possible? Because it seems simple in theory, but I'm sure those of you running all of these programs that Tracy just mentioned said, when do they start? When do they end? All of those same questions. That's what we're all here to answer. So I really appreciate you mentioning that. Tracy mentioned how refugees and parolees come into Vermont and that structure. We also have a growing asylum community here in Vermont. So I wanted to introduce Kate Karlberg-Baum from CASP, the Community Asylum Seekers Project, to talk about another another group of new Vermonters that we have here in Windham and Bennington counties and hope to see more of.
Thanks, Alex. And hi, everybody. Nice to see you. or meet folks that I haven't met yet. My name is Kate. I direct the Community Asylum Seekers Project here in Brattleboro. I'm joined by my colleague, Christy, who is our outreach coordinator. So just to echo a little bit of what Tracy said in terms of what the population is that we serve, asylum seekers are another category of people who migrate. Asylum seekers essentially are refugees who seek status from inside the country, as opposed to seeking it from outside the country, as most of the folks that the refugee resettlement agencies serve do. Seeking asylum is a legal right. And there are many different ways that asylum seekers enter the United States. Once they get here, once they arrive in Vermont, they meet groups like ours. Community Asylum Seekers Project was founded in 2016. Since then, we've served between 20 and 25 asylum seekers from all over the world, from Latin America, the Caribbean, Mexico, both East and West Africa. We offer case management. Dora Urgeni is our extremely qualified case manager who couldn't be here with us this morning. And in cooperation with Dora, our multilingual staff offers all kinds of wraparound services. So we connect people with legal aid, with housing, medical and mental health care, job training and placement, school enrollment, and just day-to-day orientation to Vermont. We do this in cooperation with two other bodies. One is our network of volunteers, whom Christy is responsible for resourcing and training and coordinating. And one is other local partners like all of you. BDCC in particular has been really great lately, helping us get people connected with job training needs and job placement. So we also do this work in collaboration with a statewide network of 6 asylum support organizations. We are one of them. There's another in Rutland, in Randolph, in Burlington, in Montpelier, and St. Johnsbury. And that network works together to sort of share services and best practices and make sure that the people who come to us get the housing and placement that they need. That statewide network recently got a big grant that's going to allow us to do more work, including putting on a policy symposium about the needs of asylum seekers in Vermont. So stay tuned for news on that. And then the other side project we're engaged in right now is building a pro bono resource center to increase the number of pro bono asylum lawyers in Vermont. That project has just gotten up and running in its incipient stages. We've received 2 grants on that front. And I will put the website for that in the chat in case folks are interested. Oops, I put an extra dot there. Sorry about that. caspt.org/VAP. It's the Vermont, the VAP. That's the website. So right now we're in the stages of putting together an advisory board and a mentorship panel for that organization. So ideally, within the next couple of years, when asylum seekers, including whether the refugee resettlement agencies end up resettling other folks who don't come with refugee status and need asylum lawyers, there will be more. And there will be folks who are supported and ready to take those cases. So that's something that, in collaboration with our partners, we very early on saw that we didn't have enough lawyers who could do this kind of work in the state. So working with a lot of different partners, we're trying to do a sort of, as Alex said, systems level approach to plugging that hole in the services that we have as a state. Thanks very much.
Great. Thanks so much, Kate. I imagine in a future meeting, we could spend an entire meeting talking about, from the eligibility of services standpoint, how refugees and asylum seekers differ. And I'm sure we'd find plenty of things to discuss about how that should probably change in the future, but really looking at, when someone arrives, what is made available to them, and making sure the folks responsible for providing those resources are aware that yes, they are eligible, or perhaps right now they're not eligible, and how do we prepare them for when they become eligible for certain services.
Yeah, and I forgot to say too, when Tracy talked about cash assistance, that people are also offered federal cash assistance when their asylum cases are processed affirmatively. So when they win asylum, they also get a year's worth of cash benefits, just like a refugee. But in the interim, the long legal process that, since Trump gutted the immigration system, can last several years. Folks are not eligible for cash assistance from, the refugee resettlement offices. And during that time is when organizations like CASP become really crucial.
Great. And yeah, again, I'll say the goal, we're really intentional about calling this New Vermonters because, for the system to serve everyone we want it to, we really need to be aware of the distinction between people's backgrounds, but also agnostic to it when it comes to providing them a welcoming community to live in. Support and being welcoming shouldn't be conditional, and that should be our goal as a system. And so last but certainly not least, I want to introduce Joe Wea, who's the director of our local, the Ethiopian Community Development Council, the Refugee Resettlement Organization. Joe, if you wanted to say a few words about your org and what you've been up to.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Alex and Sue, putting this together. I want to thank all of you, our community partners, who, since we opened our office, have been working tirelessly, has been working with us for from the time we started. Sorry. So going back to what Tracy said, the way refugees resettlement works, when the president make his declaration, refugees resettlement agencies internally also come back to its branch offices and ask what the capacity from that branch office or affiliate office is going to look like. So for us here, just to go back a little bit, last year we thought our focus would have been on refugees and not the APA program. When I say the APA program is the Afghan resettlement program, but then when Kabul fell, the projection at the time quickly changed from focusing on refugees from around the world to the Afghan program. So on that projection, initially it was 25 people, but then it had to change from 25 to 100. So currently we have over 104 individuals that have come to Vermont, both in Brattleboro area and then Bennington. Of that number, we have already permanently housed out of them. Quite recent, we also received 3 people from Guatemala. And to go back, in April of this year, the Afghan placement program officially came to an end. So which means everyone that is coming to Southern Vermont is coming through what we call the reception and placement program, which is a regular refugees resettlement. When refugees arrive on our program, we are focused on the first 90 days. And the first 90 days is when we sign up for benefits. Part of the benefits, we sign up for state benefits like food stamps. We make sure that they have housing. We make sure that they also start finding jobs, enroll them into English language courses, and other benefits or programs that they need to enroll into. After the first 90 days, it's expected that through what we call the self-sufficiency plan, meaning each individual or each family will have a self-sufficiency plan. It is expected that after those 90 days that is supposed to be self-sufficient. And if they are self-sufficient, it means that we completely close their files and enroll them into other programs that other state or local organizations are providing. Most of our refugees who have come on the APA program right now have already passed the 90 days program. That means that some of their files have already been closed on the APA program, but rather doing the assessment so that they enroll into the long-term program that Tracy mentioned. And for us right now, some of the long-term program, we have something we call the Preferred Communities program. And the Preferred Communities program is an intensive case management program for families that we have identified to continue to provide long-term services too. The state is also providing support to us on what we call RSS case management. Is also after the first 90 days. And this RSS case management focuses on people that are not in the PC program, which is the Preferred Communities program, but rather singles or people who would just need to do light touches with. So those that are just looking for, have questions of their benefit and want you to reach out to us, they don't know what to do, they are assigned to our case managers, but it's not as intensive as the Preferred Communities. We also have ongoing employment services support program that is going on. We, in collaboration with the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation, BDCC, and they are providing employment services for refugees that have arrived since January of this year and those that will be coming. And so we are not directly involved into the employment services ourselves, but rather BDCC is doing that. And in Southeast Vermont, the little difference with other refugees resettlement agencies that I know is that we have developed a kind of collaborative approach compared to other areas, partly because we are new here, and also Southeast Vermont is just starting, so we're starting everything new, and this has been very helpful. And that collaboration involves BDCC and our co-sponsorship teams that are here, as well as the World Learning and SIT School of International Training. And in this approach, what we do is when people arrive in Southern Vermont, the first place they go to is they are hosted on SIT campus. And then from there, it gives us time to find permanent housing for them, and then move them to a permanent housing if we find one. The Vermont Rental Assistance Program has been very helpful, but that program, as you all know, may come to an end soon. And then BDCC focuses on the employment support piece, and then they are working with the the employers as well as the clients. We have an employment person on our team that works with closely work with BDCC to continue providing this kind of support. Then we have the co-sponsorship groups. The co-sponsorship groups are the group of 7 to 10 volunteers from our communities across both Brattleboro and Bennington. And they work with ECDC to provide ongoing services to group of refugees that we pair with them. And right now, we're only pairing with these co-sponsorship groups, families, and they provide wraparound services to this family for a period of 9 months. So when our 3 months program comes to an end, co-sponsorship groups continue working with these families for a period of 9 months with the hope that by the end of 9 months, this family will be self-sufficient. But we also do recognize that integration takes a long time. So 9 months or 3 months is not enough. So as Tracy mentioned in that, programs continue. Some of our programs, like the PC program, will continue for a period of time, but it is expected of us as Refugees Resettlement Agency that with the post 90 days after the 3 months, we have to link our clients to existing services in the communities, services with AHS, services with other providers, and so that they will start to engage with those community-based services. So that's how Refugees Resettlement is structured. Currently, our projection for FY22 and 23 for Brattleboro area, I have reached out to some of you and already briefed you, is 100. For Bennington is 50. We hoping by October, if the Bennington office is approved, we will open an office in Bennington, and Bennington will officially be recognized as a refugees resettlement site. We also provided legal support. Most of the refugees that came through the APA program have to do adjustment of status. So we're working with AALV, which is the African Association Living in Vermont, based in Burlington. They're providing legal support to most of our refugees. And right now, some of our refugees have started having hearing, and we expect more. Some of our interviews are being scheduled in New York, so some of them will be traveling there. For cultural orientation, World Learning, we is leading our cultural orientation, and they have been providing that cultural orientation piece and the English language support to all refugees that come in our area. World Learning is working with Tutorial Center in Bennington to continue to provide that support. So far from our end, this is it. Again, our focus right now, even though we have the Afghan program, but we expect that refugees will be coming from anywhere around the world, including Ukrainians, South Americans, and as well as Africans, and anyone that has been assigned to us. Thank you, and I stop here for questions.
Yeah, if there's any questions quickly on the, again, refugee resettlement generally and how folks come into the area, I can spend a few minutes, short minutes on that. But again, Joe really laid out how this is a long-term, a population who has varying time periods of need for intensive support upon arrival. And as with many of us, the more support someone needs, the different programs are enrolled in as they continue. And so those are how that works, is exactly what this group is really designed to help make function smoothly and effectively and efficiently, as we move forward and welcome new folks. Any questions? Quick questions. So what I'm going to do is the most important thing, I believe, in how we all work together is how we interact. When we reach out, when we engage with that handoff, that transition of need. And so I'm going to bring up the agenda one last time. And I would love for folks to introduce themselves. I'm going to read down my list. So I'm going to give everyone just a few minutes to prepare for this activity. This is not a program overview. This is not a mission or vision statement of your organization. This is, when should I call you? Under what circumstance? Under what circumstance should someone pick up the phone and give you a call, or type in your name into the state agency website or Google to say, I need to talk to this person. I also just put this information in the chat. If someone could mute themselves, let's see. Yeah, and so again, I'm going to have, I'm intentionally stalling so you all have time to do this, but I think it's really important. So if you're able, I would love for you to turn off your microphones, or sorry, turn on your videos, so that you can put a face to a name and we can all just share where we are and when to reach out. How does the network actually function when you're sitting at your desk and the problem comes up? Why should we call you? And so I'll start. I put it in the chat. My name's Alex. I work for the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. Our service area is Windham County primarily, but as a working communities person, I also cover Bennington County for that. And generally, you should call me about employment services and the Working Communities Challenge. Jen Stromston, next on the list.
Hey, I'm Jen Stromson. I also work for the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. I'm the Director of Programs. You should call me when you're not sure who to call. honestly, because I think a lot of times my best thing is trying to help be a traffic director like that. So thank you.
Great. Allie Perline.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here. I'm Allie Perline, State Refugee Health Coordinator. I work with Tracy Dolan in the State Refugee Office. So my service area would be statewide. I'd say give me a call for any kind of broader systems level, statewide level related needs around healthcare coordination or access, resources, capacity related to providing healthcare that is culturally and linguistically appropriate for our newcomers. So thanks so much.
Perfect. Thank you. Jeff Lewis.
Hi, my name is Jeff Lewis. I'm with the St. Michael's Refugee Ministry. So we're actually one of the groups that making calls. We have 4 families that we have co-sponsorship groups for and relationships with a number of the other refugees. So we're calling from their point of view.
Great, thank you. Chloe Updegraff, and I apologize to anyone if I don't say your name correctly.
Good morning, I'm Chloe Updegraff. I'm the Public Health Services District Director for the Vermont Department of Health Brattleboro office location. And I would say call me when there are any gaps in coverage, when folks need TB tests, when folks need a vaccination. We are more than happy to help fill gaps with regard to the health of our new arrivals. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy Caratero, when should people call you?
Hi, everyone. I'm Christy. I work at CASP as the outreach coordinator. You can call me if you're a CASP volunteer. That would be great. That's kind of my entire role. But if you are not and you have any questions about what types of things people do for each other, if you have a need that you haven't been able to meet for one of the new Vermonters, that would be a great time to call me because we have a great set of volunteers that are very ready to do things. Yeah, and if you're looking for trainings or things like that, we've have a couple of recordings that I can send out to you.
Great, thanks so much. Darla Senecal.
Good morning, everyone. Darla Senecal. I work for Building Bright Futures, which is Vermont's Early Childhood Council. I cover Addison, Rutland, and Bennington County for that organization. And you could call me anytime you have needs with young children and families, anywhere prenatal to age 8. We offer connections to early childhood education to health providers. We're also a neutral convener. If there's a gap or an issue happening for families that needs to be elevated to the state level, we can be a connection for you there as well.
Great. Kate, thank you so much. Kate just asked if folks could specify if you're aware of any requirements that, of your clients that may differ or be specific to their status. I imagine many of you may not know. And so I think this could also be a future topic that we all discuss is, how do we actually determine eligibility and are we excluding folks who may otherwise be eligible? So if you have this information and you can share it quickly, please do so. But I'm going to add it to our potential list of meeting topics also for you to select. So thank you, Kate. And thank you, Dara. Deb Coombs.
Hi, everyone. I work for the WSCSU and work with our multilingual and culturally linguistically diverse student population. So if you have families who arrive and need help with registration or supplies or anything like that, as far as elementary age or secondary age students who are coming into the district. And we obviously don't require any sort of ID. We're not permitted to ask that information. So.
Great, thank you so much, Deb. Eduardo.
Hi, good morning. My name is Eduardo Melendez. I am the Community Engagements and Communication Manager for ECDC. Our service area is Southern Vermont. right now, Windham County, soon probably moving up to Bennington as well. You all come to me for all the information that you need disseminated, whether within ECDC or our partners. My job is to reach out, communicate to you our programs, what we're doing, the status of our refugees, and for you to come to me for any requests for information that you might have on ECDC's end. So on that note, Mark.
Great. Thank you. Gina Pattison. Just sharing who we are and when to call.
Yep, good morning. I'm Gina Pattison. I am actually community relations at Brattleboro Memorial Hospital, but working very closely with our clinicians and state partners, including Allie and Chloe. I see Megan on here with getting healthcare established. So I would say call me anytime you have specific questions to patients and their appointments or any concerns that you have with healthcare here specific to BMH.
Great, thank you. Grace Winslow.
As you heard, Grace Winslow. I'm with Bennington County Open Arms. We're currently a co-sponsorship group for 7 families in Bennington. An 8th is soon to join us. Our service is we are pretty much doing everything with some support, and I will call all of you gladly at any point in time. Okay.
Great, thank you. Jessica Rose.
Hi, I'm Jessica Rose. I work for ECDC primarily as a case manager for the 90-day programming. So any questions about the first 90 days of our refugee resettlement, you can come to me with any of those types of questions.
Great, thank you. Caitlin Ford. I saw you put it in the chat. If you want to share it out loud also,
That's
you're more than
fine.
welcome.
I wasn't sure if you also wanted us to post it. My name is Caitlin Ford. I am one of the case managers for ECDC, and I focus primarily on programming post 90 days. So the PC program with the intensive case management, but I also oversee our other programming and other programming that we will have in the next fiscal year as well. So anything client related, you can call me for, or if you just need to know who to talk to at ECDC, I'm also a good person to reach out to.
Great, thank you very much. I will say, I'll share this recording, so it's easier to share people speaking than the text chat, but anything you put in the chat will also be shared for those who want it. So thank you. Kyle Hoover.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kyle Hoover. I'm the district director for DCF here in Bennington. That's Family Services. So we respond to reports of abuse and neglect. And we also have juvenile services, which is usually youth who've been charged with delinquencies and interface with courts. So a lot of times we're involved with people that's dictated by statute. And so you can call me if any families or kids are interfacing with DCF Family Services and you have questions about that. And we also come to the table for meetings that support youth and families and get them to connect with services that they might need. So I'd say you can also call me if there's questions about what services are available to children and families.
Thanks so much. Leslie Turpin.
Hi, everyone. I'm chair of the Master of Arts in Teaching program at SIT Graduate Institute. You can probably go to Tim with more general questions, but I'm happy to talk to anybody about teacher training, about language learning, literacy, and be a support to that. I'm also chair of the board of the Vermont Folklife Center, and we support communities to preserve their cultural practices and to teach younger for older people in the community to teach younger children. And so if you know anybody in any of the communities who has a cultural tradition that they can share, we can provide funding for that. So contact me with any information you have.
Great, thank you. Lorelei Morissette.
Hi, I'm Lorelei Morissette with Brattleboro Housing Partnerships, and our offices and housing is in Brattleboro. You can call us with anything related to housing, from getting someone on the wait list to me specifically around service coordination for our residents.
Great, thank you so much. Mark Clark.
Morning, everyone. My name is Mark Clark. I'm the Resettlement Program Manager at ECDC. I work primarily coordinating client services across the both first 90 days, post 90 days, and then with the various specialty navigators that we have on staff. You can call me around any issue involving client support services through ECDC. Thank you.
Thank you. Megan Harrington.
Hi there, I'm Megan Harrington. I'm the District Director with the Vermont Department of Health Bennington District Office. You can call our office to connect with our WIC Family Services for Bennington County that serves our breastfeeding moms, prenatal, and kiddos up to 5 years. You can also connect with our public health nurse team around immunizations or broader health questions. I'm also a great resource. I'm a great switchboard operator for Bennington County and happy to connect folks around, who's who to talk to about broader healthcare or community resources. And I'm also happy to serve as a convener of conversations around healthcare or around broader social needs in the county. Thanks.
Thank you so much. A little foreshadowing, I think our next meeting two topics I'd like to focus on is going to be maternal health care and the VRAP expiring. Those are two issues that are time sensitive for different reasons, but are important. So thanks to the last two of you for chiming in, and we'll be focusing on those topics shortly. So you'll hear from me. Thank you. Melanie Letourneau.
Good morning, everyone. Here I am. Good morning, everyone. Melanie Letourneau from the Department of Labor in Bennington, and I can help with job referrals, obviously, in connecting employers with our new Americans. Also, I am a good resource for English as a second language, as well as training as needed. If they need an internship, an externship, or classroom training, I can help support any of those things. And I am Grace. I've already seen Grace on the line. She's, as we know, we would coordinate well together.
Great, thank you. Natalie Basil.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natalie. I am the director at GBICS, which is Greater Bennington Community Services. We have 3 core programs: the Bennington Free Clinic, a kitchen cupboard food security program, and an emergency needs fund. We serve mostly Bennington County, but we're willing to work with anyone who wants to work with us. And you would call me. We are becoming a place that individuals adults can get their DHA, their health assessments done. If you have someone who's struggling getting into primary care, we can see someone until they are able to establish. We also, if folks are struggling with food programs, we can help sign people up and or use our cupboard. And finally, with the emergency needs fund, urgent one-time, mostly related to health needs, but we think of health very broadly. So you could call us and we could perhaps add some financial assistance.
Great, thank you so much. Pat Burke.
Hi, my name is Pat Burke. I'm the Family Services Director at Southeastern Vermont Community Action. We serve Windham and Windsor counties. We're the local anti-poverty agency. We do a lot of crisis intervention. We work with fuel assistance and housing. I would say Joea knows when to call me and when not to call me since he worked for us. Yeah, we can help with folks who are facing crises in those areas or just a resource and referral. We also are helping folks with VRAP. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you. Randy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Randy Shoemaker from Southeast Vermont Transit, also known as the Mover. And please call me for transportation needs or questions. We are the Medicaid broker for Southern Windsor and all of Windham County, but we also do fixed route, volunteer, van rides, etc.
Yes, Randy, and transportation will be a future topic certainly that I think will I know I'm excited for, but there's a lot of resources that I think are underutilized around transportation that we could all learn about. So I'm excited for that future. Thanks, Randy. Sadie Fisher.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sadie Fischesser. I work for DCF Economic Services. I'm an operations director, and I cover the Brattleboro, Hartford, and GA unit offices. So you would call Economic Services if you have questions about any of our benefits programs. That includes 3 Squares Vermont, otherwise colloquially known as food stamps, fuel assistance, reach up or TANF benefits, as well as emergency housing. All of that is accessible through our 1-800 number. I think that's it.
Thank you. Stephen Jernkov.
You did really well with my name. Steve Jernkov, Area Manager for HCRS. We're a designated community mental health agency. We cover Bennington. We're covering, Windham, Windsor counties, and also Bennington for this project. You would call us for anyone who has mental health needs. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Sue Graff.
Hi, everybody. Sue Graff. I'm with the Agency of Human Services. I'm what's called a Field Services Director, and I serve the Brattleboro and Springfield districts, which is all of Windham County and Southern Windsor. And my colleague, Adam Sansick, I don't think is here today, but he covers the Bennington and Rutland districts. And really, you call us if you need clarity on the agency and what it does. We are in the field, as the name implies, so we can help you understand what the 6 departments and many divisions of the Agency of Human Services does, what we can provide, how to connect to those benefits and services and programs. And a lot of our work is done by community partners that are on this call. So HCRS, for instance, being the designated mental health agency. So helping you understand how we work together and how to navigate to those resources, who to call when. So yeah, we're sort of master switchboard operators and traffic controllers and all that stuff. So feel free to reach out if you have a question about how to access our departments, our agency, and or our community partners.
Great, thanks so much. Thomas Huddleston.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Thomas Huddleston from ECDC. My role is to help organize and support our co-sponsorship groups and support teams. This is really a big innovation in the US that few agencies are picking up and are really essential for integration in small towns in a rural area. We've got 13 co-sponsorship groups and 11 support teams. So you contact me if you want to join or support a co-sponsorship or support team. If you've been contacted by someone who says they're part of one of these teams and you want to know if that's really true, or you're supporting a family and you want to know if they have a co-sponsorship or support team.
Great, thank you, Thomas. Tim Rivera.
Good morning, everyone. Tim Rivera. I'm Senior Advisor for Innovation and Strategy at World Learning SIT, the School for International Training, working together with Leslie, who you heard from earlier. You call me if you have any questions about the temporary housing that we are providing refugees on our campus when they first arrive in Southern Vermont, or about English language learning or cultural orientation provision, whether in Brattleboro or in Bennington. And I don't see anyone from the Bennington Tutorial Center, but we are subcontracting to them for the provision of English language learning there. And we also work very closely with Vermont Adult Learning in Brattleboro for English language provision. So anything in relation to that, yeah, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah. If you don't attend enough meetings, everyone, we have a separate, bi-monthly meeting for ELL providers alone. So if that is really something you're interested in or want to speak at in the future, you could reach out to myself or Tim to get added to that agenda around ELL specifically. So thanks, Tim. Last but not least, Wendy Morse.
Hi, I'm a regional manager with the Vermont Department of Labor, and I serve the Bennington, Rutland, and Addison County districts. And you would call me, so Melanie makes the magic work on the ground with the clients. I make the magic work more at the sort of the bigger picture level. So you would call me if you have an idea for ways that we can better collaborate or other projects around employment or training needs. And of course, I sign off on all the great things that Melanie does with all the folks that she's working with.
Great, thank you. And I see a hand from Tracy.
Yeah, I wanted to just let folks know when they can call me. Is that okay?
Oh, yes, please. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So call me if you've already tried at the local level. If something gets stuck and it's not really moving forward, try that, but then call me. Sometimes I can pull together people at the state level, or I can talk to partners from a different perspective, and we can get things unstuck or reset. So call me if you've tried all your avenues, and then I can jump in. And it might take a little bit because I have to pull partners together, but usually we get things unstuck pretty quickly. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much. Yes, the whole point of this is that we're working both from the ground up and the top down, because so much of the work that you all do as state agencies is dictated by policy. The best thing about Vermont is the top and the bottom aren't very far from each other. And so the goal for this is, as we're doing this work together, what we learn, we send all the way up. And if there's changes that need to happen, flexibility that we need to find, we're doing it together and we're kind of all on the same page. Miraculously, we're doing great on time. I don't have much more for folks except two things. I'm going to give a poll that I'd love everyone just fill out really quickly, a checkbox, what you'd be interested in hearing more about, and also a topic you might be willing to present on, or if you're willing to present on one of the topics. The goal now, so now that, again, as Joe mentioned, the APA program has stopped, now we can anticipate a slower pace of resettlement over the course of the next year. And so part of this group is to take a deep breath and learn what we learned from doing a whole lot over a short period of time, and then apply that to the next group of folks as they come in, because it won't be 30 a week. It'll be 30 every month or two, if that. And so just this is an opportunity that we had to do all that. So the two things I would love for you to do is, when I launch the poll, is to do the poll, please. And then also to provide your email. If you could just in the chat put your email and the phone number, that, again, when someone needs to reach you at work, what's the best way for them to reach you? And if you could put that all in one line, that'd be great. And we'll put together a resource directory of everyone. Any questions, concerns about this group, the general thing, anything that you would adamantly say we need to put on the next agenda? Feel free to raise your hand and let me know. Great, I will. It should be a checkbox, so anything you're interested in. I will say that if we're going to have these meetings monthly, If there's a topic that comes up that is really not relevant to your work, we encourage you to prioritize your time effectively. That said, if it does relate to your work, we'd love as many people in the room thinking about how to do what we do together. And sometimes not having anything to do with the topic at hand, you have that perfect outside perspective to shake things up. So that's what we're hoping for. Any questions? We have 13 out of 28. We can get all the way, folks. If you've taken the poll and you don't have any questions and you put in your information, have a great day. I'll reach back out with the recording of this video and this directory that we'll soon create for everyone who attended and was invited. So thanks again. Be in touch. To all of these people, don't be afraid to call them. They've invited you to call them. So I look forward to working with you all more soon. So thanks
Alex,
so much.
Alex, I
Go
had more of a question to ask if there are questions around. The Ukrainian thing is pretty new, and we're trying to get some consistent information out. If anyone had any questions on what the Ukrainian program is like right now, I'd be glad to answer anything there for a couple of minutes, if that's okay, Alex. And if you'd rather not, that's fine. It's just a little confusing to people, so any chance I get to clarify it is helpful.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to open that up to the group. I don't know if we've seen coordinated efforts around that, but Joe, feel free to chime in, or whomever.
Yeah, I've been talking to Joe. It was really more, I think, for the rest, but happy to hear from Joe as well. Go ahead. Yes.
Oh, no, for us, right now we have Mark Clark that is leading the effort, and part of our responsibility. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, yeah.
Okay, so part of our responsibility is to do outreach to those coming to our area. So Mark is the point person. If anyone in our area, both Bennington and Brattleboro area, they have a question about a Ukraine program, please feel free to reach out to Mark. And I think Mark already shared his contact in the contact list. Tracy?
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Just wanted to, just because it's a little bit different, because they're coming through private sponsorship, refugee resettlement agencies aren't given like a case slot or anything like that. It's really sponsors who reached out to the feds and said, I'd like to sponsor a family. I know this family, right? Usually has some kind of connection. The family arrives, and then the sponsor, who doesn't have professional training in resettlement, so they need to do a lot of things. So we prepared a brief that they can use. But resettlement agencies are also getting a little bit of support to provide some help. The challenge is, of course, this could be in any town, and resettlement agencies are only in a couple of places in Vermont. So in some cases, it might be a light touch, but it's really folks arriving and then all the usual things you need to do, because they can stay here for up to 2 years under the humanitarian parole, and they are eligible for most of the benefits, not all, but most. And so the resettlement agencies are helping out if a sponsor reaches out. Ideally, we're encouraging everyone to at least enroll, so we have some kind of record. But we do have situations where people arrive pretty unexpectedly. You know, we get a list from the feds saying this many people we think are going to show up in this zip code. That's it. But then sometimes we get 12 people showing up in a brand new zip code. In one area, we've got many people showing up who specifically reached out to people with disabilities. So a very high level of children with disabilities showed up in a pretty small community. So a lot of scrambling very quickly around what kind of services to provide. So just didn't want anyone to be surprised. People could show up in your area. Generally, I think encouraging them to get in touch with Mark, who can walk them through things. And ECDC will enroll people in that general region, and depending on what the need is, provide some services.
Great. Thank you for that.
Thanks.
Yeah. Those are the kinds of updates I think we'll start most meetings with as we learn more, you know, especially, you know, both with the Afghan program and the Ukrainian program. There are long periods of time where everything changes. So this hopefully will also be an opportunity to share that. Great. Yeah, if there aren't any other questions or things to share, again, thanks everyone. I have 100% participation on my poll, so I'm happy. So thanks to all who attended, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.
Thank you.